Hey, what is going on, guys? This is the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video. And so today I'm gonna be talking about RWBY Volume 5. So RWBY Volume 5 has been greatly, for whatever reason by the fan base, has been shitted on as the worst season in RWBY. You know what I mean there? When it isn't. As a matter of fact, it literally is the opposite. Okay? Not counting, obviously, Volume 1 through 3, which Monty Oum did those volumes. Obviously, those were much better than all of the post-volume RWBY seasons, or RWBY volumes. But if we're going based off of 4 through 7, since 8's not out yet, Volume 5 is the best. I don't know where people have gotten this idea why Volume 5 is the worst. I don't get the logic on how it's the worst. Like, are you watching the same series that I'm watching? Like, literally, 4 was just basically just summarizing shit as they walked around the whole time. I mean, there was a couple of good things there with Blake and Sun, but outside that set up the stuff that was going to happen in Season 5. But that's basically what Volume 4 was. It was basically to set everything up for Volume 5. Volume 4 was basically a shit season, but it set up everything that was going to happen in Volume 5. You know what I mean there? And Volume 5 being as great as it was because of how shitty Volume 4 was. Because they set up the stuff that was going to happen in Volume 5, and Volume 5 ended up being good. Granted, after Volume 5, it went to crap. Because Volume 6 just kind of, I mean, you know, Volume 6 just went to craps. I mean, they did bring back Neo, but, I mean, you know, they just kind of, I don't even know where they went after that in Volume 6. But Volume 5, okay, that volume is so underappreciated, and I don't know why. If you are a storyteller that wants to actually know stuff and wants actual things to line up, Volume 5 did that. It did. It introduced, well, I mean, the introduction of Ilya, you know, more of her backstory, why she likes Blake. You know, the backstory of the discriminations she went through, you know, that all was there. Granted, Ilya hasn't really done that much since Volume 5, but that's not the point. I'm talking about strictly Volume 5 right now. They introduced the character in a way where you actually get more in-depth of this new character, why she is struggling, why she goes through what she goes through, and why she likes Blake. And I mean like in that way as well. They introduce it, and it makes sense to why she struggles the way she struggles. You know, with Blake, you know, betraying Adams, you know, Blake was so obsessed with Adams at one point, and she still didn't understand that. Why she would betray him, and finally at the end, you know, she, you know, joins Blake, you know, and whatnot. But not only that, forget about just the Ilya storyline. They had the Spring Maiden storyline, which even screwed me up because I thought Vernal was the Spring Maiden, as we all seen in my reviews from years ago. Raven ended up being the Maiden, which surprised everyone. I mean, not everyone, but most people. Most people did not think Raven was the Maiden. Okay, But there were people, I'm not saying that everyone, I mean, there were people that did, think Raven was Maiden, but it was a small majority that thought that. Most people were, right when, Vernal came in, like, everyone was like, oh, it's Vernal. That's the Maiden. Because we were always under the impression that, oh, she took someone under her wing, or Raven took the Spring Maiden under her wing, and that seemed to be what Vernal was doing. So it was just kind of makes sense that, oh, it's Vernal, and Vernal is really another word for spring. So, even the name kind of is like indicates that. So, in a sense, it made sense, and it added another story element. And then, of course, it also then got Yang into the mix because obviously Yang is the daughter of Raven, so it introduced that element as well. And kind of went through her struggles because Yang was still rebounding from getting her head cut off. So there was still that rebound element. Obviously, Sun and Blake were still working together, and they were showing more of their kind of love development that I am still pissed off to this day that they have essentially dropped, because that was my favorite ship in the series. And it is far better than the make no sense Bumblebee ship. But they were doing that development, and having a really good chemistry on where they were going with the plot. The storytelling made sense. You had a character that could represent, all people, that were discriminated, or even people that are LGB, for people like Ilya, and her struggles. A lot of character development there, for her in the storyline that they were going for. And then you have the storytellings of all the other characters, the struggle Weiss went through. What she was going through, and then of course at the end where she almost, we thought, died, and then we, have, Jean basically saving her, and, discovering his aura, of healing people. We had that development, like there was so much into this, the big fight at the end between Cinder and Raven, that was a great fight, okay? And I loved that fight sequence that they went for. We thought Cinder might have been dead, but obviously, as we all know, she doesn't die. But a great sequence. And then, of course, the whole thing with Yang, and the artifact, or the relic, the relic, that, she got, and the whole, Cinder, or not Cinder, what the fuck am I saying? Raven, at the end, giving it up, but, basically defending her actions, and Yang is just like, no. And they're both upset about it, but obviously you have to move on. So much action, so much drama, so much storytelling. This season, outside of the Monty Oum volumes, because obviously Monty Oum's vision was obviously superior compared to all these people that are doing it, since this was his show. And yes, he did participate in Volume 3. The majority of the storytelling in Volume 3 was his writings before he passed away. So, yes, the majority of that was his work. So, that still counts. But my point is when people say that Volume 5 is the worst season, like, I really feel you guys need to rewatch it. Because if you're if you're judging these volumes based off of individual merit, there's no way Volume 5 could be the worst volume. Volume 4 was terrible because it was setting up a great season in Volume 5. It put those elements in there, that set up the motion for what was going to happen in Volume 5. And then, of course, we also had the villains as well, doing their thing, killing the headmaster, who was a double agent, basically. Adams doing what he did, killing the leader, so he becomes the leader, since he wasn't the official leader, but he essentially was, so then he was like, okay, I'm just going to kill you. Dramaticness to it. So much better than the last 2 volumes. This past season was really just this last season, last year, was just a volume. Was just didn't make sense with a lot of the stuff they were going for. They had a lot of good ideas, but they didn't really execute it very well. I think the Volume 7 could have been just as good as Volume 5 had they not really kind of messed things up with some certain scenes, as well as plot holes. The whole Penny plot hole doesn't make sense. I'm glad Penny came back, because I've been wanting her to come back for years, but Penny becoming the Maiden made no sense. And I don't know where Volume 8's going to be at, but I just don't see why people think Volume 5 was the worst season. Volume 5 was the best season. It clearly was the best season. Clearly was. Well, yeah, also, too, Weiss, rejoined. Well, that's another thing, too. Weiss rejoined the team, escaped from her father and all that, as well, just so she could join them. And that was another, great struggle element that they introduced, what the struggles that Weiss went through. I just don't see, I can't understand why people think Volume 5 is the worst season. I mean, compared to all these other ones that, that came afterwards, as well as, the 4. 4 was obviously not good, but 4 was mainly not good because it was the first volume of the post-Monty Oum era, as well as it was basically just a walkthrough to set up the great Volume 5 season. That's basically what it was. They were setting up elements for Volume 5, and that's why Volume 4 sucked. It doesn't justify it. I'm not saying it does, but that's what Volume 4 essentially was. It was essentially a season to basically set up, get everybody back together, or most of the people back together, even though they were all divided, but they were all in their own set groups. So then they could, tell the stories that they wanted to tell in Volume 5 and get all the battles that they wanted. And that's basically why they did it. But yeah, I don't see why people think Volume 5 is the worst. Volume 5, outside of the Monty Oum volumes, because the Monty Oum volumes were the best out of all of them, there's no debate there. But outside of those, if we're going through strict through Volume 4 through 7, since Volume 8 isn't out yet, Volume 5 was the best. And I would like to know your opinions on this. I would like to know what you think. And if you do think this was the worst volume, why? Please explain to me how any of the stuff I just explained doesn't make sense. Because to me, as someone that likes actual stories making sense, and as well as shit making sense, this is where it made sense. They obviously went on a loose cannon after Volume 5, and kind of ruined everything after Volume 5, but I just don't see how people think Volume 5 was the worst. I don't see it. I think it was the best outside of the Monty Oum volumes, and I think it worked very well. Let me know what you guys think. Comment, rate. If you like this for my videos, please subscribe. I do have a Patreon in the description, as well as the Discord link for discussions. I am out. I'm the SS Ultimate Goku. Moderate. Peace!